Welcome to Fearless Females. I'm Shabana Abdul Razzak, and today's guest is a television presenter and media personality who refused to fit into narrow expectations. Instead, she grew with honesty, resilience, and a strong sense of self. This conversation isn't about titles, it's about her journey, the doubts, the challenges, and the strength it took to stay true to herself. This is Fearless Females, and this is Reim El Houni. Welcome to Fearless Female.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, shall we start?
Yes.
Great. Tell me that when you're not a presenter, a trainer, and a public figure, who is Reim El Houni at the core?
God, that's such a deep question to start with. Who am I at the core? I think, honestly, I am very fortunate that I've always had a love for stories. I've always been enamored by the world of content, TV, production, even as a kid. And the fact that I get to live my passion, I honestly think that's at my core. So at my core is someone who loves stories, loves consuming, and now is very fortunate to create as well.
Great. That's really, really touching. And tell me that in this world of, being the public figure and a TV presenter, where women have to be dressed up in a certain way, behave in a certain way, how do you live up to that?
I think that's an excellent question, because I think that, especially, I'm going to speak personally right now. I'm an Arab female who grew up in London, who, is in her 40s. And I think there are so many limiting beliefs around what you can be, what you can say, how you should look. And I think it takes a lot to get over those beliefs. And I think that I'm finally at a stage where I've been able to do that for myself. So I think, to answer the question, it's got easier over time to be true to who I am. And but I definitely see a lot of people who still struggle with being in the public eye and overthinking how they should behave, where honestly, I think everyone needs to just double down on who they are at the core and embrace the knowledge that they have and see how they can add value. And if they focus on adding value, nothing else matters. So I think I'm finally in a place in my life where I'm focusing on that.
And you're right. I mean, we all come in this stereotype boxes where we are trained to, conditioned to be a certain way. And then it becomes very, very difficult to break that cage and to be the person that we actually are.
I think it's incredibly difficult. I think, even culturally speaking, I mentioned being, an Arab female. I don't know about you, but I know that I grew up with a mom who often said aib, which means whenever you did something that felt like it was a little out of the norm, it was inappropriate, or she'd say something like hayatuk ain, which means they're going to give you an evil eye, and you grow up with these stereotypes, and gradually they end up restricting how you behave and who you become. And I've noticed that, again, as I got older, you start to realize that, hang on a minute, the era that I'm living in today is very different to the era that my parents grew up in. So why are we still holding ourselves back with all of these cultural stereotypes when we're in a world where we are in the attention economy? It is actually okay, not just okay, it's the norm to go out there and share and discuss your opinions openly and not feel embarrassed or shy to do that. And because I've had to overcome that for myself, I've found that I've been able to support others do that as well.
And you're so right. You asked me a question. We have grown up with the same thing. They say aib in Arabic, and they say in Urdu they say bura lagta hai. Don't say this. It doesn't look nice. It doesn't go well. So we all come from similar backgrounds, and you're so right. We have to unlearn these things to learn new ones.
Yeah.
So tell me, life has taken you to many different journeys of your life, yeah? So tell me, what was challenging? What was the one thing that was, like the most challenging thing in your life for you, and how did you overcome that challenge?
I think there have been so many challenges. I think I've been very fortunate to fall in love with the media industry, but ultimately it is a very male-dominated industry. So I think growing up in this field, in itself posed challenges. I remember even just as an 18-year-old, going on studio floors and sets in the middle of the night, which I think, for, again, coming back to culture, for many people, they'd be like, what is this girl up to in the middle of the night in these random spaces? But I was very fortunate to have parents who understood the industry. But I would say, trying to stand up for myself and stand out in an industry which is so male dominated was challenging at times, and I've had to learn how to overcome that. Just to give you an example, you know, I was adamant when I was younger that I would be a camera person, and I remember, you know, entering a training program at the London studios, which is a very popular studio in the UK, and out of 22 camera operators, only 2 were female. So you end up feeling like you're in this male locker room. You know, it's your thoughts and your concerns become very different. And for you to be heard and recognized and acknowledged, you have to learn, you know, how to get noticed. And for me, the biggest lesson I took away from any of those experiences was the importance of education. It became my priority to learn everything, because if you can compete on knowledge, then no one can argue with you anymore. If you can ensure you know the latest trends, techniques, tools, whatever it may be, you can hold your own in a conversation, then gender doesn't matter, culture doesn't matter, nothing else matters. So I think that's probably been my biggest tool in overcoming challenges.
So you're so right in that, because I come from an industry which was a male dominating industry as well, and so rightly put that, you know, your education has to be there. If you are well updated with all your information, then you can win the game.
Yeah.
So how did you there was a time in your life where you second guessed your worth, your direction, that have you done this correctly, are you on the right path? Was there a time that you had that?
I think that happens quite frequently, and I've had to unlearn all over again each time that thought has come into my head, realizing, hang on, who am I to be judging? If the outward perception is positive, why am I internally doubting myself? A story I often tell is about the opening of Burj Khalifa, and I tell this story because I remember it very vividly. I was responsible for the televised opening, and literally every single thing I had planned went wrong. Oh, everything. Wow. And I could tell you in excruciating detail, but everything from the camera positioning to the planning of where His Highness Sheikh Mohammed was going to go, everything. And I remember getting off that telecast and I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed because I sat there and I thought, how is it possible that I had been given this responsibility of airing this global moment and I had failed? And at that moment, my mum rang me. And my mum rang me, and I remember looking at my phone, and I was like, "Hi, Mama." And she went, "Mabrook, that was amazing. That was the best show I'd ever seen. Oh, no. You must be so proud." And I was sitting there thinking, how is it possible my worst show is my mum's best show? And I think that was such an important lesson for me, because it taught me that perception is reality. It taught me that she didn't know what I'd planned. No one at home knew what I'd planned.
Exactly.
She had a great experience watching the fireworks and the fountains and was none the wiser to everything that had gone wrong. And I'm so glad I'd learned that, because coming to your question, you know, if I had just gone by what my perception was, I thought I'd failed. I thought it was terrible, you know, but hearing someone external tell you that it was great made me realize what a big gap there is between what we often say to ourselves and what the public see. And I'm so glad I learned that lesson back in 2011, because it's really served me since then. But I think it's also taught me that whenever I have a sense of doubt of me not living up to an expectation, I have to sit there and think, but whose expectation? Is it mine? Is it external? Because probably their experience is very different to mine.
This is such a good takeaway, you know, and we should all be living with this, the thought that nobody cares. It's just how you take it and how you take in your stride matters, really.
I say that regularly, nobody cares. I say it because, you know, I'm someone who, like many females, some men too, but many females, you know, are quite self-conscious, you know, and people often confuse confidence and self-consciousness, because I believe that I'm very confident in my craft, but I'm still someone who, you know, cares if I look okay. I'm worried about my reflection in the mirror, but I realize nobody cares. Nobody cares if I've got more gray this week. Nobody cares if I've put on more kilos this week, as long as I'm adding value and they're taking something away from that. So I think, you know, learning to stop caring and focus on delivering is what we all need to do.
You know, you, mashallah, come across as a very confident and, self-confident person. Tell me something. How do you deal with criticism when you try something new?
So I'm a very big believer that you never know unless you try, right? So I don't really, I would rather have tried and failed than not have tried at all. My mantra is, what's the worst that can happen? So when it comes to trying something new, I'm the type of person who's always ready to try something new. I'm actually really good at it. I'll learn something today and be like, oh, let's try that tomorrow. And I honestly think that's the way you innovate and you move forward. Does everything succeed? No. Do some fail? Yes. How do I deal with it? I think it is knowing that I rather would have tried. And I think when it comes to negative critiquing, I've got really good at blocking it out. Like I'm really good at it, because I've just got to a point where, you know what, I know not everything's going to work out. And if you can't see the benefit in this, I don't need to hear it. It's not that I'm in denial, but I just think that sometimes you need to listen to your own gut and you need to move forward, and not everyone's going to get it. So why am I going to take other people's opinions so seriously when this is something that I need to try for myself?
Having said that you have this capability of blocking negative connotations in your life, but has there been a point in your life where you thought of giving it up? And how was it? I mean, what made you overcome that?
When you say giving it up, you mean giving up, sorry, can you clarify?
Giving up the thought of, okay, I will not try anything different now.
I think, honestly, I learned something a few years ago that's really served me, which is a statistic I learned from the world of BNI, which is a networking organization that's played a big part in my life, and I know in yours, is that 1/3 of people you meet in your life are going to love you, 1/3 are going to hate you, and 1/3 are indifferent.
Exactly.
And when I learned this, I honestly felt freed, because it just made me realize I'm never going to please everybody. I'm just going to focus on pleasing the 1/3 that are my tribe and that are going to care about what I have to deliver. And if you're not aligned with that, that's okay. You're somebody else's 1/3. So I think doubling down on that has helped me just focus on the actions that serve me and serve my tribe.
That's great. Good answer. I mean, everybody should live with that 1/3 of their people, and that's what we are training ourselves to do as well. So, life gets very overwhelming and uncertain sometimes. What keeps you going? What is the strength? What is the inner strength that keeps you going?
Honestly, it may sound a little bit negative, but the idea that no one's going to save me, because I know that I need to save myself. So when I look at what keeps me going, you only live once. I'm highly ambitious. There's a lot I want to achieve. And I wake up every morning thinking, okay, if I'm going to achieve these things, then I need to be the best version of myself. I need to get out of whatever frump or negative state I'm in and be the positive person that I want to be. I heard, we've all heard fake it till you make it. I recently heard faith it till you make it, which I love. And I think I have a lot of faith. I have a lot of faith in the future, in believing in the outcome that I want. So in terms of what keeps me going, it's that belief. It's the belief and the idea that I need to create the outcome for myself. It's not going to miraculously come on its own.
That's true, actually. What you just said, faith it till you make it. It's really strong. And I think more and more people should take a lot from this. Are there any lessons in life that you learned the hard way? And what has that shaped you as a woman?
Lessons I've learned the hard way. So without naming names, but, a lot of the work that I've done has been in the government sector. And, I think entrepreneurship is challenging in itself. And when you're growing a business, you start to take risks and you start to take challenges to grow your business. And given that I've worked with clients who don't always understand SMEs or don't always understand the challenges that small business owners are going through, I've ended up taking a lot of risks that I don't think I would have ever imagined I would take, with the hope and the faith that they will pay off. And what I've learned is that, you have to be a risk taker for some of these opportunities to come through. And it's not always easy. And that's where faith really comes in. You have to get to a place where the opportunity is worth the risk, but also not jeopardizing, everything you've built for that risk. So it's a fine balance. But there have been some very challenging times. There have been some very challenging times where I've, gone ahead and produced full TV shows without, contracts in place, without payments in, without, and I don't think people would really believe just how far it's gone. But you learn that you have to push through in order for some of these dreams to come together. And often there's quite a bit of risk involved in that.
So that's the faith that you have.
Absolutely. I really believe it's going to work out. I have to believe it's going to work out, because otherwise you wouldn't take the risks that I've been taking.
That's great, yeah.
But I think, working on some of the projects I have, if you want them on your portfolio, then sometimes you need to push yourself to do things you wouldn't normally do.
So you sound pretty you're on the success path. You have overcome a lot of fears, you've unlearned a lot of things. What does success mean to you, and how has it evolved you professionally and personally?
I mean, success for me, I don't want to die feeling that I haven't fulfilled my potential. So success is being able to live a life where you're fulfilling your potential, but also one that's aligned with who you are. I'm very clear about my non-negotiables and my do's and my don'ts, and I don't want to be living a life that crosses any of that. So if you're capable of doing that, I believe that's success. I think the last few years I've started to understand the importance of some downtime, which I never did. Like, I've always been a bit of a workaholic, and I think many people are. And it's realizing that actually you can still be successful by also looking after yourself and looking after the people around you. So I think there's so many aspects to success, but ultimately I want to know that I've fulfilled my potential, and I've done it with a clean conscience, and I've done it in a health conscious way.
Not many people see success as looking after yourself. And the more we think and the more we talk about it, people will start believing that, yes, success is also looking after yourself. And it's so nice to hear it from somebody like you. So tell me, Reem, how do you keep yourself grounded by being in the public eye so much? I mean, it's sometimes must be getting too overwhelming. So how do you keep yourself grounded?
One thing I've been doing for, I want to say, close to 2 decades now is keeping a gratitude journal. I write my gratitude journal every single night. I'm very, very intentional about it. And that honestly has kept me very grounded, because during my day, I'm now proactively looking for those moments of gratitude that I can write in the journal. And I would highly, highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't tried. I'd say the second thing that I really spend a lot of time doing is vision boards and manifesting and goal setting and scheduling. I spend a lot of time with my bigger vision and, being very intentional about where I spend my time and who I spend my time with, because I think that also keeps you grounded in terms of, where you want to go. Because it's very easy to have what do they call it? The shiny syndrome. Where
shiny object
syndrome, where you suddenly want everything and want to be everywhere. I was like, no, this is the goal. This is what I want. This is what I'm focusing on, and be as intentional as you can about achieving those things. So I think it's a combination of being grateful for what I have and being intentional for where I want to go.
Also, there's a new word called joy of missing out.
I have so much JOMO, it's not even funny.
Exactly.
I have so much I've got so good at JOMO. People go, oh, do you want to come here? No. Thank you I appreciate you. Thank you so much. But no, I've got so good at declining things. But I think that happens when you start to realize, what you're most aligned with and where you want to go, the direction you want to go. And it means you start saying no to things.
That's true. We all have to start saying no, because we are so good with pleasing people and what they will think about us that we don't say no.
Yeah. And it's, in fact, I've spent a lot of time learning about scheduling and time management. And, I've got much better at scheduling the things that are priority for me first, which I never used to do. I think most people start off, as you said, doing everything for everyone else.
Exactly.
But when you actually intentionally open your schedule and say, you know what, no, this is important for me. It's a non-negotiable. I'm putting it in. Everything else can still happen, but it happens around those core blocks. I think it makes a huge difference.
Now that you have come through this journey of understanding, knowing, success and everything, what would you tell the younger Reem who was struggling with confidence?
It's a tricky question because I really do believe that we're all the people we are today because of all the experiences we've had throughout our lives. Yeah. So I probably wouldn't be the person I am today if I had an easier way of growing into the public space. I think the one piece of advice I wish I had was to stop caring sooner, because I think, especially in your teens, in your early 20s, and you care a little too much about what everyone thinks and what everyone has to say. And I've only got to this place in my 40s where I feel like, yeah, I'm okay. And I wish I had a sense of that when I was younger, because I think having that confidence would have supported me in saying yes to more opportunities. Like now, whatever the opportunity I'm in, I'll figure it out, I'll do it. In my 20s, maybe I would have thought twice, and that's really what I would have wanted her to know.
So beyond fame and career and the limelight, how would you want to be remembered as a woman?
I think something I'm incredibly passionate about, which I know you're aware of. I have a community called Mission Visible. But the reason I'm so passionate about it is because I've seen how I'm able to teach others from my experience and help them grow their confidence and transform them. And I see it. I can literally see it in front of my eyes. I see people show up in the morning and they're kind of nervous and unsure. And then by the end of the day, they've got that little bit more confident. They've seen a world that they didn't have before. So when it comes to how I want to be remembered or any form of legacy, I really want to be remembered as the person who pushed people out of their comfort zone. I want to be remembered as the person who showed them that, you know what, you can do this at any age, any stage, doesn't matter what you're going through in your life. You can become the best version of yourself, you can fulfill your potential and get into the spotlight. Because I always tell people, if you're not visible, you're invisible. And honestly, there's no better time to start than now.
Thank you so much, Reem. Because I want to take this opportunity today to tell people that it is because of Reem today that I'm here and sitting in front of her. She's my trainer. She trained me for what I'm doing today. I hope I have done a good job. And Reem has interesting things that she does, her vision boards and her manifestations. And I had manifested in one of the workshops that I'm going to do my own podcast or my talk show, and here I am sitting in front of her. I'm really utterly grateful to you for what you have done and pushed me out of my comfort zone and out of, this is not just me. And like you said, you can start anytime. Thank you so much for being at the show, and thank you so much for making me do what I really wanted to do.
Thank you. I'm so proud of you right now. So proud. Thank you so much, Shabana. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please make sure to subscribe and like the video. Stay tuned and follow us on our socials for more.